Making swords today is completely pointless. Nobody needs swords.
And yet, people still devote their entire lives to learning how. To make a sword can take a year. To learn how to make one takes a lifetime. Pierre didn't grow up in Japan. He didn't grow up around swords. But one encounter changed the direction of his life.
And I saw on the rack there a book called Musashi, an epic novel of the samurai era by Eiji Yoshikawa. It's a very famous book in Japan, about 100 years old. And it tells the tale of this very famous samurai called Miyamoto Musashi, who actually lived. And at some point it mentioned that Miyamoto Musashi has a sword. He takes it to a polisher to get it polished. And the polisher says, "Oh, you have a very famous sword from Bizen." I didn't even know swords were a thing. I just knew about fencing and movies, and I just kept reading through the book. But learning that name Bizen actually changed my life.
Pierre goes to Japan, he's hanging out with his friends, and one day they decide to take a road trip.
And as we were on the highway, I saw a sign that said Bizen. And right away I was like, oh my God, this is the city that I saw in the book, And I told my friends about that, and I asked is there any way we can see anything sword related, They looked on their flip phone, and they tried to call a few places, and we actually found a live sword maker, a swordsmith, at work, and he said we could visit him. I was completely blown away because I had no idea swords were still being made to this day in Japan. I had no idea. And I was very excited, so we went to this swordsmith's place and we observed them work for 3 hours. The first thing that really moved me was the simplicity of the work. I had never seen a blacksmith at work before, even in Canada, so it was a first for me. So the guy was living and working in the countryside, completely isolated, all by himself, by the fire, in a very simple setup. He wasn't talking to me or anyone, he wasn't trying to entertain anyone, he was just working there focused.
What Pierre was seeing was a craft that had basically been unchanged for hundreds and hundreds of years.
I remember thinking that this would be the exact same setup a blacksmith would be working in the 1300s. The only difference was that he was using an electric mechanical hammer, a very simple blacksmith hammer that he used. And at the end of the 3 hours, he went in the back and came out with a sword that he had just got back from the polisher. And so I realized then that this rough, dirty metal that he was shaping, once it was completed, was this beautiful object. I wasn't even thinking about weapon or fencing. It was just a beautiful, shiny, perfectly designed object. And I was completely blown away by what I saw. And then we just left. But I came home and I just couldn't get rid of the memory of that. I didn't even know it existed, on that morning, so.
Pierre goes home, he researches, he reads, he tries to go back to life in Canada, but he can't shake this feeling like he has to go back to Japan. He has to find his way back to learn. So he does. He goes back to Japan. To become a swordsmith, you have to become an apprentice, and that's not an easy thing to do.
Accepting somebody as an apprentice is basically marrying somebody. You're taking a responsibility for that person, and you're going to be together every day for many, many years to come. If you can't do this with somebody you don't know.
There's no website or form to fill out. Pierre finds a smith in Kyoto and visits him over and over again, just watching, just waiting for the right moment to ask to become an apprentice. By the way, there had only been one foreign apprentice up to that moment. The odds were against him. Lucky for him, Pierre had a secret weapon, a pushy landlady. And one day he decides to bring her with him to the smith's shop to show her what he's been up to.
The whole family came with me. They wanted to meet the swordsmith and they were interested. Japanese people don't know anything about sword making, so they were curious and they came with me. And as we were chatting, I had no intention of asking Kyoto whatsoever. We were just chatting. And the mother right away says, "So, will you accept Pierre as an apprentice?" I was like, "What?" And he was like, "What?" And then he's like, "Yes, I would." I was like, no way. And then, so right then and there, I was accepted as an apprentice.
Pierre was ready to start learning, but first he had to learn that everything he had known about education was about to be turned upside down.
When you start, you don't know anything. And even if I ask all these questions about heat treatment and the hammer angle and where I should hold it and what's the right place in the forge, like most of the time he would just ignore me. He's right in front of me, I'm asking these questions, he's not even answering. And that was frustrating at first, but then I just learned to shut up basically. But after a few years, I realized when I had an actual question that made sense, he would answer right away.
Did you catch that? His teacher only started answering his questions after a few years. Years! So, what did he do for the first 24 months of working as an apprentice? He cleaned and cut charcoal. That's it.
If you look at the facts, it's true. Like I did only cleaning for mostly a year or something. And I cut charcoal most of the days for years. And I remember, at some point it was like exciting new thing, cutting charcoal, and then getting extremely bored doing it. And then getting over the boredom and just floating doing it. Like just, this is what I do. Like I don't want it to be finished. I don't hate it. I don't like it. This is what I do. For foreigners, for Westerners, often it's about getting the job done so that you have, the satisfaction of the result. But in Asia, it's a common thing throughout, like China, Korea, and Japan, is that you just accept that this is what you're doing right now until you don't need to do it anymore. And everything you do should be like that. And it's actually a lot more peaceful. People think it's a form of torture or like ego shrinking process or something. But let's say you work in an office and you have your own processes and you're used to doing, you work the way you do it. And this new guy comes in and he's like, okay, can I do this job, and that job? And you're like, wait a minute, you have no idea what happens here. You don't know the processes, you don't know who does what, you don't know where the files go, you don't know anything. And because we have that culture of always being entertained in the West, even in companies in the West, we try to get the newbies to do something that's fun so that they won't be frustrated and they will enjoy their work, But in Japanese companies, even office work or industrial work or traditional craftsmanship, it's always the same thing. The first thing you do is just be there and observe. What I was doing entering apprenticeship was not cleaning. It was being there and observing how he works, what's his schedule, his habits, where tools go. And this is what you're doing while you're cleaning. He knows where things go. The master doesn't have to show him anything or anything. Like the tools are in the right spot, everything's maintained, That tool cuts, that blade has been changed, And now we feel that he's part of the shop and now everything runs smoothly. And then all of a sudden the master will just say, okay, this morning you forged that thing, like forge that tool. We need it this afternoon.
And what's amazing is that he knew how to do it. All that observing, all that watching, all that cleaning, Pierre had actually learned something.
In Japan, there's this notion, this expression that says karada de oboru, which means learning with the body. It's basically, instead of learning something intellectually with your mind, your body has to learn it instead of you.
It's like learning to ride a bike. You can have a PhD in physics of bicycles, but you won't know how to actually get on the bike, right? Pierre had to study with his body. He watched what his master did, and then he did it too. Making a sword is pretty simple. You take iron, add carbon to make steel. You heat that steel up very hot and then hammer it into a shape, then repeat that over and over again until it looks like a sword. The material, the shape, it's all very simple. But Pierre told us that the steel itself is so pure, so well made, and that's what makes a Japanese sword, a samurai sword, so special.
The process for making the steel for Japanese swords is very crude and it's not very efficient and it makes a low quality product. But the Japanese, being Japanese, they found a way to make very good quality steel with that process and transform it into something that performs very well.
Okay, so now we have to ask the question, why? Why spend all this effort? Why learn for years and years to make swords?
Making swords today is completely pointless. Nobody needs swords. And yes, they're nice, but nobody will use them for fighting. I hope not. I consider myself a pacifist. I hate war and I hate violence. I had to kind of make an effort to make peace with the fact that I'm making weapons. I've tried to find good reasons or good motivations for me to keep doing what I do. And one of them, obviously, is the actual archaeological aspect of it, like researching and making. But then the end product is still a weapon, you know. But then there's one thing that I clicked on at some point, and that's something I learned in Japan as well, is that life is not permanent, you know. You will die, you know, and we should always, and it's a Zen concept, you know, but you should always be reminded of death. Not because it's gore, not because it's scary, but because it's absolute reality. You know, you will die. I think we should look at death in the face, and as one very famous Zen quote says, the best way to learn how to live is to prepare for dying, to prepare for death, and the best way to prepare for death is to live fully every day. So to me, the sword is the best symbol of that. You know, you can take that and cut somebody's head and they're dead and that's it, it's over, you know. But we don't do it. So you have death right there with that thing. It's right there, you can take a life, but you don't do it. So you have that value of life in the face of death. And that's the symbol of that to me.
To live with that awareness isn't about fear. It's about restraint. About choosing not to use power simply because you have it. And when power is treated with that kind of care, something else disappears with it. Pride.
Pride is not part of the Japanese culture. Somehow, modesty is kind of hammered into you. And to take pride in doing something here, it really takes like a lifetime of dedication to something. And really, I'm just a chick out of the egg, you know. I'm really just starting, you know. 10 years into it, it's just basically starting to do something.